In Elfrieden, the kingdom's king and his ministers decide to summon a hero. They activate a big summoning circle covering the kingdom and end up summoning Soma, who was at a library at that moment. They bring Soma to the king, who thanks him for answering their call, but Soma is annoyed as he didn't answer anything and got dragged into this world, but decides to listen to what they have to say before getting angry. 10 years ago, a void opened and monsters arrived from the demon world, causing a big war. Some nations united to fight the monsters, but ended up losing, and eventually the monsters took 1/3 of the continent, which territory became known as Demon Lord's domain. Soma hopes they don't intend to make him fight the monsters, but learns that they intend to send him to Grand Chaos Empire instead of the financial aid they had been requested. Since Grand Chaos Empire shares a large border with the Demon Lord's domain, they are one of the main armies who fight the demons and have requested financial support from those that do not share borders with the demons. As Soma figures he is important, he wishes to see the finances of the kingdom and improve them to strengthen the nation and reject the imperial demands. Soma, the Prime Minister Marx, and the King Albert spend 3 days reviewing the finances, after which Soma is surprised to hear the king abdicate the throne to give it to Soma and announce an engagement between Soma and his daughter Licia. The news reaches the 3 dukes that lead the kingdom's armed forces, Vargas, Walter, and Carmen, who are surprised. Licia rushes to return home thinking the throne is usurped, but learns that Albert had abdicated himself as he believes Soma is more fit to rule the kingdom. Albert informs her that it's up to her if she will marry Soma, but should at least meet him first. Licia goes to Soma, who saw her as fresh manpower, and learning she can read, he wants her to help out, but Licia reveals she is the princess. Licia wonders if he can really fix the finances in a few years and about the current situation with the financial aid, but Soma states he had already secured the money by selling the national treasures. Soma intends to pay the Empire the last possible day. Soma is informed that summoned heroes are sometimes imparted with magic. He is taken to a gargoyle-like small statue, which if he touches will tell in his mind what nature of magic he may have. As he touches it, a statue shines and Soma learns he can use magic. Licia enters Soma's office and is surprised to see people working there. She notices pens moving on their own and writing documents and realizes it's Soma's magic. With that, he is able to deal with paperwork faster. Licia asks about the other people in his office and Soma explains that they are looking for untapped money if there are wasted expenses or misappropriation disguised as expenses, and will receive the responsible parties to return the missing amount or be arrested. Even though they have already found enough money to pay the Empire, they can never have enough capital or manpower, and he makes Licia help him with the paperwork. The next day during breakfast, Soma states that their first step should be limiting the planting of commercial crops and bringing back the food crop fields. Soma wishes to prioritize soybeans and potatoes as they can withstand inclement weather. Soma wishes to use the gemstone broadcast system for recruits and reach out to the whole country. As Soma gives speech, he states that they need unrivaled talents, no matter their social status, age, ethnicity, education, or place of origin. People from different places of the kingdom start to pack their bags and leave towards the capital. Licia's maid Serena informs her that there will be a ceremony about the new recruits and Licia needs to be present. Pancho feels nervous and shares to Hakuya that even though his talent was recognized, he is nervous that he will be facing the king with his kind of talent. Meeting the king, Aisha refuses to bow, stating as a warrior her tribe only bows to their master. Soma is fine as he was the one that called them. As they proceed, Aisha comes out first. Soma uses his living poltergeist to read about dark elves and know more about them. Marx reveals that she has remarkable talent in fighting arts. Next one is Juna Doma. Marx explains she has beauty and a singing voice incomparable to any other. Soma asks her if she could sing a song that will energize the nation. He then takes out his phone and gives her headphones and plays a song from his world. After hearing it, Juna states she can sing it even though she doesn't know the language. After singing it, she receives applause from everyone. Marx introduces the next person, Pancho. Marx explains that Pancho's talent is eating, and while many came claiming the same talent, there was none who were able to top him. His appetite had led him to every corner of the world, trying every dish. Soma assures him that his talent will save the country. Marx explains that the previous 3 nominated themselves, but the next person was nominated by someone else and calls Hakuya to step forward. Marx states that Hakuya has exhibited a talent for intellect and is believed that his knowledge and memory are unrivaled in the kingdom. Soma asks Hakuya what genre of books he reads. Hakuya reveals he reads everything like literature, history, law, and military tactics. Seeing his talents, Soma installs him as his right-hand man. Marx proceeds to introduce the last person, Tomoya of the Mystic Wolves. She has unusual talent, allowing her to converse with birds and beasts. Soma then wonders on how to use her talent. Tomoya wishes to tell him something, but as she is nervous and he can't hear her, he decides to go to her. Tomoya then whispers something in his ear, which surprises Soma. As he confirms no one else outside Tomoya's mother knows it, he tries to act normally. Soma returns to his throne, stating that he heard her request and will consider fulfilling it. He tells Marks that Tomoya's talent is a rare one, and he wants to discuss later with him on how he can use it. Soma then thanks the new recruits and hopes they lend them their aid to revive the kingdom. Soma then gathers Tomoya, Licia, Marks, and Lidwin. Soma explains that Tomoya told him that she talked with a demon. Soma states that mankind is currently united and is fighting the demons, but if people learn they can communicate with the demons, there would be some that will attempt to forge an alliance with them. Soma receives news of Poncho's return and takes Licia to meet him. Poncho comments that he managed to get all the food he was after. Using the broadcast system, Soma explains that the broadcast is designed to help until the food shortage is resolved by introducing foods that can be eaten and how to prepare. Later, Marks explains to Soma that Elfrieden Kingdom's military force is about 100,000 people. The army led by Duke Carmen, the navy led by Duchess Walter, and the air force led by Duke Vargas. Further, the Forbidden Army was comprised of the royal guard that reports to the king and the private armies of the noblemen other than the three dukedoms. Additionally, mercenary units dispatched as part of a service contract with the mercenary state Zem fall under the Forbidden Army, but their employment has already been terminated. The reason is that soldiers who fight for profit would readily switch sides if there is greater profit. Soma contacted the three dukes for a reform, but none have replied back. However, that gives Soma some free time. A week later, Marks informs Soma that he wishes to step away from being a prime minister and recommends Hakuya to take over his position, and Soma accepts. But since Marks knows the national treasury is in dire straits, so he will continue serving the king for his salary, Hakuya then makes a suggestion for Soma to take some time off. He then proposes that he take Licia to a date around the castle to deepen their intimacy. They can take Aisha as guard to be safe. The three of them dress in the military academy uniforms, and as they enjoy walking around town, they eventually get hungry and decide to go eat at Juna's cafe. At Juna's cafe, Soma sees a mystic wolf girl raising her voice, but is corrected it's a mystic fox, and that if he mistakes it in front of them, both the mystic wolf and mystic fox would be angry. They see she is talking with Halbert Magna, the oldest heir to the prestigious Magna family. As he is supposed to have a post in the army, Licia wonders why he is in the capital. Juna explains the girl is Kaide, a regular customer and a mage in the Forbidden Army. They overhear Kaide telling Halbert to not go see Carmen, as he is at odds with the new king, and at the worst-case scenario, there could be a civil war. However, Halbert states that he must go, since if there will be war, it's his chance to get ahead in the world. She further explains that internal fighting will only benefit neighboring countries like Amidonia, who would try to take the land that was taken by Elfrieden 2 kings ago. Republic of Turgis has most of its territory in ice and would love to get some rich soils and a harbor that won't freeze over. Soma recalls his conversation with Hakuya about Elfrieden's neighbors. Hakuya explains who the neighbors are and states that 4 are neutral, while 1 is hostile. Soma wonders if that's Zem, due to them terminating the mercenary contract, but Hakuya denies it. Turgis in winter would be frozen and usually they head north, so if they don't give them a chance, Turgis won't do anything hostile against them. Soma then guesses it's Amidonia, who had offered them assistance by sending reinforcements to put down the 3 dukedoms. Hakuya believes they made the same offer to the 3 dukes to help them overthrow the king. They will use the chance to send troops into Elfrieden, occupying several cities, and then will decide to side with the dukes or the king depending on which will be more advantageous for them. The 3 leaders should also be aware of this, and Soma hopes that they won't seek their help. Halbert is sure that Carmen has something in mind. He doesn't believe in the inexperienced king, while Carmen is battle-proved. Kaide disagrees, stating that his image for the king is wrong and he is formidable. Soma joins the conversation, asking why she is thinking that. Kaide states that the critical things when leading an army are the quality of soldiers and supplies, which is also the same for a nation. Kaide continues to explain that the king gathered people from everywhere to solve the food problem, but then looks at Soma and realizes he is the king. Kaide wonders if they are there to arrest him. Soma denies it and explains he just had free time and went to Juna's cafe. Annoyed, Halbert asks who Soma is and raises his voice against Kaide and Soma. Aisha quickly overpowers him and stops him from moving. Halbert then realizes that's the king and panics. Soma asks Halbert if he realized that joining Carmen means he and Kaide would be enemies and could find themselves on the battlefield. A bit later, the maid informs Soma that Glaive Magna, the head of Magna family, Halbert and Kaide are requesting an audience with him. As he meets them, he sees bruises on Halbert's face, and Glaive asks Soma to overlook his son's misconduct and begs for mercy. Soma tells Kaide she's quite talented to remain a mere mage and orders her to work under Ludwin Arx in the Royal Guard as a staff officer. Soma then orders Halbert to be transferred from the army to the Forbidden Army and be Kaide's adjutant, standing by her and supporting her. Glaive then wishes to tell Soma something but requests the room to be cleared. Glaive tells what he wanted to Soma but doesn't expect him to do anything and just wanted Soma to be aware. Soma finds the news heavy and sits to think about it. Later, Soma decides to explore the world a bit. Using little Musashibo, Soma joins an adventurer's party. They quickly recall hearing about an adventurer who uses a mascot costume and got some skill. Since the quest is at beginner's level, they decide to agree and head out. As they face monsters, Soma quickly dispatches them with ease. While proceeding in the underground passages, they end up facing an unexpectedly large salamander. As his saliva is extremely acidic and fire magic doesn't work on him, the adventurers decide to run. Soma ends up tripping and falling, and one of the adventurers, Juno, helps him and temporarily blinds the salamander with a flashbang. However, as the salamander shakes, he drops saliva everywhere and Soma protects Juno with his body. The adventurers manage to escape and Juno thanks him for helping her out. Later, Soma washes Musashibo and is glad that he added acid resistance to his surface. Licia joins him and realizes that Musashibo is larger than the first time she saw him. Soma admits that he asked some craftsmen to make him a new model and he has been controlling him with his magic. Licia then realizes he is the mascot adventurer she has been hearing about. Soma explains that he wanted to see what the underground passages looked like, but he also had some fun. Several days later, Soma has his men gathered and thanks them for the sleepless nights and hard work as they can now move forward with Project Venetinova. Earlier, Soma explains that Venetinova will be a new port city, which he intends to make the biggest base city in the country. Soma explains that after building Venetinova, they will start constructing roads allowing them to more easily control both maritime and overland shipping and distribution. The next day, he goes to the future site of Venetinova where he meets Ludwin Arx. Seeing the land, Soma wonders why it remained unused. Ludwin reports that they finished marking the territory and construction was going smoothly, but there are people opposing the construction who live in a village farther inland. Led by Orup, they insist that a town must not be built on this land since the territory is the land of Kajin, the god of the sea, and will incur his wrath. Thinking about it, Soma decides to meet the old man Orup. Going to Orup's house, Soma asks him to tell him more about the god of the sea. Orup explains that when they build houses, the monsters come and swallow them. Soma then asks him to show him how far the monster territory spreads. Later, Soma discusses the situation and believes that there is no monster, but it's a tale to warn the people to not build houses there, as there is a tsunami. Soma decides to continue with the project, but changes the city's location to avoid the risk of future tsunami. Halbert and other men from the Forbidden Army help constructing the roads. He complains if this is a job for the Forbidden Army, as normally they need to protect the kingdom and not do things like this, but Kaide explains that they hired the unemployed people to help out, but were still short-handed. Soma and his group then check out the construction of the roads. Licia then sees the lamps and Kaide comments they are made so that when it gets dark, the light moss inside starts to provide light. A messenger bird then appears, it lands on Aisha and gives her a message. Reading it, Aisha explains that it's from her father, the chief of the Dark Elves, and informs her of a landslide that swallowed half the village and many are still missing. Soma then states that the group will go and rescue the elves. He tells Licia to return to the capital and request a rescue party and tell Hakuya to send relief supplies to the Dark Elves. Reaching Aisha's village, they meet her father Woden. He then explains that there are already more than 100 dead with about 40 still missing. Soma requests a list of the missing people, so they don't miss anyone. He also tells Woden to put a few men to watch the mountain and report if there are some movements or strange noises in order to avoid getting caught in a second landslide. Aisha requests that she be one of the people and her father tells her to call her old friends with which she used to run in the forest. Soma instructs the Forbidden Army to listen to the voices in the dirt, but if they see a second slide to evacuate even if they were in the middle of a rescue. As they rescue people, Soma states he heard a voice under a large trunk and tells Halbert to come and help. Halbert states he didn't hear anything, but is then surprised to see someone under the trunk. Soma explains he used a wooden mouse and controlled it, getting it into places where people can't look up. Soma throws up, commenting that one of his mice had found some horrible mangled bodies. Soma and Woden confirm that they found all missing people, although some of them are already dead. Aisha informs Soma that Licia and the relief unit had arrived, but Raptor states it's too late. Soma states there are many things left to do from tending the wounded to building temporary houses, however, Raptor states that won't bring the dead back. Woden tells Soma that Rothor is his younger brother, who lost his wife and his daughter is still in critical condition. A few days later, the three dukes meet in Randall. Vargas comments they need to act before all turns into Soma's favor. Walter wonders if he still thinks of rebelling against the king. While she also refused to assist him, her priority is the safety of Lagoon City. She is sure that Amidonia had sent the same letter of assistance to the king as it sent to them, and hope that they take each other down. Walter then wonders why Carmen is against the king, considering how much patriotism and loyalty he has for the country. Carmen states he determined Soma cannot govern the kingdom. Walter still wonders why, as the king had solved a number of national crises already. Carmen then states that Soma has cast aside so much without a second thought. Walter wonders if he is obsessed in taking the throne. Vargas doubts it, and Carmen confirms that after driving the king out, they will have King Albert reclaim the throne, and they will serve him again. Carlo Vargas then enters, stating that if her father is committed to fighting, so is she, because the king deposed King Albert and attempted to violate her friend Licia. Walter tries to explain she is wrong, but Carlo refuses to listen and wishes to fight. At the capital of Amidonia, Gaius Amidonia receives a letter from Carmen, accepting his offer. Gaius comments that if Carmen was in his prime, he would have been wise not to accept their invitation. He then tells his son Julius Amidonia that they will be sending reinforcements. Julius wonders to who, and Gaius states they will send reinforcements to the king against the dukes, and to the dukes against the king. Rural Amidonia wonders what to do with her father and brother, as sending reinforcements will weaken their country even more. Rural believes that Elfrieden have it good due to having large population, which means more tax money and operational capital, and is jealous of Elfrieden's purse. In Amidonia, Gaius prepares his troops for invasion the moment Carmen starts his rebellion. Colbert asks Gaius to reconsider his invasion, as it will lead to people's starvation. However, Gaius kicks him, stating that domestic affair ministers always say the same thing. Colbert states that if they invade Elfrieden, Amidonia will be open to attacks by other countries. As mankind created Mankind Declaration to fight off the demons, they agree that any change in territory due to conflict between mankind won't be recognized. Gaius prepares to draw out his sword, but Julius stands between his father and Colbert, stating that won't be a concern, since Elfrieden haven't signed the Mankind Declaration. Gaius then tells Colbert he is no longer the finance minister. Outside, Colbert meets Roroa, who tells him to come with her as they are going out of sight. Soma meets with the three dukes. As they introduce themselves, he issues his ultimatum. If they continue to disobey him, he will consider them traitors. Walter asks him what his intentions for the three dukes are, and Soma states that if they obey him, he won't be taking any actions against them. Walter then wonders their armies, and Soma states he will incorporate them into the Forbidden Army and form a new united force. Soma states that their neighbors are ready to attack them, and in times of strife, military with multiple command structures is futile. Vargas wonders what will happen if the central power goes corrupt, and Soma tells him he can come and claim his head. Walter then asks him about the new city he is making and what will happen of Lagoon City. Soma explains the new city is planned as a port of trade, as well as a tourist spot, and Lagoon City will continue to serve as naval port. Walter is relieved to hear that. She then bows down and states that she and the Navy are at his command. Soma asks Vargas to do the same, but he states that 100 of the Red Dragon City Knights will be joining Carmen, but the remaining Air Force will remain neutral. Soma turns to Carmen, but states he won't be asking him, as the moment he accepted the nobles guilty of corruption, it was evident he had no intention of following him. However, he wonders what stirred him so intensely. Carmen states it's his pride as a warrior. As he gains supreme opportunity, he will decide the fate of Elfrieden through his own acumen. Before they head into battle, Soma has one proposal. As he believes they don't want the fight to drag and involve innocent civilians, he would like to establish a rule that if they kill or capture the other, the forces under their command immediately switch to their side. Carmen and Vargas agree to that. Before Carmen leaves, Licia calls him and cuts her hair, showing her resolve to strive with Soma. As Carmen and Vargas leave, Soma apologizes to Walter that he wasn't able to convince Vargas, but she states it was his decision. Soma wonders if Juna is there, and Juna shows herself. He thanks her. Because of her connections, they won't fight against Duchess Walter. Hakuya informs Soma that 30,000 troops from Amidonia are invading through a mountain pass and are likely to occupy the city of Altamira. Reaching Altamira, Gaius Amidonia likes the soil and how much the land can provide. Weist, the Lord of Altamira, tells him that Altamira won't be fighting back in hopes for mercy, but wish to wait a bit before they open their gates, as it's currently divided into two factions, those that want to fight back and those that don't want to. As Weist leaves, he states that he will behead him once they take over the fortress. With Forbidden Army being 10,000 and Carmen's 40,000, Gaius is sure that Soma won't be able to send help. Meanwhile, As the negotiations between Soma and Carmen failed, Soma immediately mobilized the Forbidden Army, and the next day they were able to build a fortress near the Randall Castle, where Halbert and Kaede are currently fighting the enemy. With Kaide's magic and materials prepared earlier, they were able to build the fortress quickly and protect it from magic and fire attacks. However, the enemy brings out cannons, who start to damage the fortress. Sur, a dark elf, then appears and shoots at the cannons before they hit the walls. Ludwig then leads a cavalry outside the fortress, focusing only on destroying the cannons. The corrupt aristocrats complain to Carmen that his army is weak. He assures them that they are 4-to-1 in size and they won't lose. Carmen is sure that Soma isn't in the fortress, as they have been only defending, but if Soma was there, they would have tried some sort of an attack. However, as he doesn't know where he is, he needs to lure him. Gaius loses his patience and decides to attack Altamira. However, in that moment, he hears men yelling from the fortress. A soldier informs him that Weist wishes an urgent audience with him. Weist offers gold dust as apology and asks him to not attack until noon the next day to give him time to convince the men. With Julius' approval, Gaius agrees. Inside Altamira's fortress, Weist wonders if this was the correct choice, because with that amount of gold, they could have hired mercenaries from Zem. Walter states that the mercenaries are driven by money and can change sides. As she is fighting 3 enemies right now, time is their ally, and she doesn't mind spending gold for that. Weist guesses that neither Carmen nor Vargas knew that Walter was in Altamira during the conferences with the king. Weist wonders if time until noon is enough. Walter states it should be, but if Soma can't come until then, they will die as heroes inside the fortress. The next day, Kaede notices that Carmen's army is smaller and guesses they are expecting the battle to continue for longer, but that will also make defending the fortress easier. Halbert is informed of approaching wyverns from Vargas's Air Force army. The previous night in Red Dragon City, Tolman informs Vargas that the citizens have been evacuated, and here are only the Air Force personnel and Vargas' household. Vargas had started to change his opinion about the king and tells Tolman to turn down all Air Force units' requests wishing to join him. Vargas doesn't mind fighting alongside Carmen, but not with the corrupt aristocrats. However, it's too late for him to change anything. Tolman informs him that the Forbidden Army had marched towards Carmen, making it possible that Soma is ignoring him as he only has 100 Wyvern Knights. However, Vargas doesn't believe it, as it would be smart to first defeat him and then take the Air Force to attack Carmen. Carlo Vargas informs Vargas that a single ship led by Soma is spotted, the battleship Albert, who now has wheels and is pulled on land by beasts. As the ships attack the castle, Soma contacts Vargas, offering him to change his mind. However, even though Vargas had already started to change his opinion, he doesn't wish to change his word. Carlo leads the Wyvern Knights preparing to bomb the ship cannons, but Soma uses bolt throwers, surprising them as usually. Bolt throwers are fixed-base defensive weapon used for defending bases. One of the soldiers suggests they attack the wheels since they are improvised and must be weak. Carla doesn't wish to attack the bridge as Licia could be there, and killing Soma could also upset her. She starts to believe she should have changed her father's mind and joined Soma, but as it's too late now, she orders the knights to go lower and attack the wheels. They succeed and also manage to destroy the cannons, but realize there are no soldiers on the ship and an armor with a puppet arm was using the cannons. Carla then orders the knights to return to the castle as quickly as possible, realizing that Soma lured them away from it, as his objective is Vargas. Having an excellent librarian, Soma used the blueprints of the Red Dragon City and managed to infiltrate it easily. Vargas realizes that he knows about the underground escape routes and everything else. As it's their first time meeting face-to-face, they reintroduce themselves. Vargas explains that Tolman has nothing to do with the situation, and if he ends up defeated, Soma can entrust the Air Force to him. Vargas doesn't intend to give himself up easily and draws his sword. Aisha then engages him to protect the king. As they fight, Soma uses his Musashimo to surprise Vargas and block his attack. In that moment, Licia comes out of the puppet and freezes Vargas with Aisha dealing a defeating blow. Not expecting Licia to be inside the puppet, Vargas admits defeat. The battleship explodes and Soma realizes that the Air Force will be returning soon. Licia takes out a slave collar, explaining it's set to Soma as master, and if he tries to harm him, the collar will tighten and cut his head. Vargas understands that and accepts the collar. Carla Vargas returns and sees her father defeated. Licia explains the situation and that if she harms Soma, her father will die. Carla then kneels and accepts a slave collar as well. Soma then grants Tolman temporary commission of Air Force General and to take the Air Force and join the Forbidden Army. Tolman agrees but wonders what will happen to Vargas and Carla. Soma explains their case will be reviewed once the fighting is over. Near the Randall Castle, Halbert notices the incoming Air Force, but as they pass them, Kaede realizes they have won the gamble. Tallman leads the army and tells them to not attack the residential sections. Soma joins Halbert and Kaide. Seeing how freely Halbert talks with Soma surprises Carla, but Licia explains he has permission and is considered one of them. The corrupted nobles meet with Carmen, stating that the Air Force had betrayed them and wonder what to do. Hearing a report for the damages from Beowulf Gardner, Carmen comments that this means they have taken the people of the city as hostages, and that means it's their defeat. The nobles can't understand as the army is virtually unscathed, and they can use the people as shields while hiding in the castle. That angers Carmen, who questions their proposal. The noble can't see anything wrong sacrificing their subjects. Seeing what type of people the nobles are, Carmen then places slave collars on them and states it was outrageous to think that he would lower himself to their level. Carmen comments he had done his part and asked Beowulf to place a slave collar on him and then send a message of surrender, stating that he takes full responsibility and the soldiers only followed his orders, except the nobles' army. Carmen takes out a wine gifted to him by King Albert. Beowulf then informs Carmen that Soma isn't entering Randall, but is already heading west with the Forbidden Army and ordered Carmen's army to follow the Forbidden Army when they regroup. Carmen realizes Soma is going for a bigger fish and celebrates accepting the king. Soma explains that Halbert's father, Glaive Magna, requested audience with Soma and told him that Carmen intends to gather all corrupt nobles, stage a rebellion with them, and have the king stamp them out. As some could remain concealed and cause trouble, Carmen started confrontation with Soma to drive them out and join him. Glaive explains that Soma only took their property on the surface, but with their other assets, now they have employed mercenaries from Zem. Soma comments that it means all of their money will flow into Zem. At Altamira, Gaius Amidonia sees the time he set for Weist is up, but notices Walter standing on the wall. As it should have taken her 3 days to come from Lagoon City, Gaius and Julius wonder if she was here the whole time. Julius then realizes this is a trap and they must retreat. Walter then creates a large screen with her water magic. On it, Soma broadcasts a message to the whole country, stating that Duke Vargas and Carmen have been defeated and the civil war is over. However, he explains that Amidonia has used this chance and invaded their territory as they want to take their land back from generations ago. Their current king Gaius promoted friction between Soma and the three dukedoms. Given the situation with the demon's army, they can't excuse their barbarism in a time like this and declares war against Amidonia. Soma is sure that Gaius is watching and states he is heading towards Amidonian capital Van. And while he is dabbling around at Altamira, he will burn down Van. Rural Amidonia receives news about Gaius returning to Van. She explains the shortest route back would be through the mountains, and they will travel through it at night, where they will be trapped. Gatsby confirms and explains that 30,000 entered the valley, but only 15,000 left it. Gaius sees all of the Elfrieden flags outside Van and guesses it has fallen, but Julius points out to him that the castle still hasn't fallen. Happy about that, he tells his army to attack the enemy. As the battle starts, Soma stays behind. Gaius tells Julius to exit battle. Julius wishes for Gaius to escape too, but Gaius explains that Elfrieden wants his head, and he can't escape. Soma hears that Gaius is coming right at him. Carla tells him to order her to defeat Gaius, explaining that she won't be doing it for him, but to not see Licia sad. Soma then orders her, and she flies into battle. Ludwig heads for Gaius and strikes him down, but realizes he is a double. Carla engages Gaius in a battle, and he pushes her to her knees. Soma's Musashibo then comes and engages Gaius, but Gaius pushes him back. Soma reveals himself and Gaius heads for him, however, Musashibo then jumps on Gaius and holds him. Soma tells Carla to ignite Musashibo and she fires him up, causing him to burst. As the smog clears, the top of Gaius' armor is revealed to have blown up, but he still stands. As he starts moving forward, stating he will show the backbone of Amidonia. Multiple arrows hit him. Gaius still manages to throw his sword at Soma, but the sword hits the ground right before Soma's feet and Gaius collapses. Later, Roro learns about her father's death and cries, stating he was dumb right to the end. Next day at Van's castle, Licia comments the place is nicely built. Lubin reports that Julius fled west and the princess had left the town before that with the finance minister and some key officials. Glaive reports the soldiers are in good spirit and with this momentum, they can conquer all of Amidonia. However, Soma explains they are not taking any more territory outside of Van and won't be fighting. On the western part of the continent is the Grand Chaos Empire, who occupies the greatest amount of territory, and its population, military might, and technology is unmatched. With the appearance of the Demon Lord's domain, things changed and the Grand Chaos Empire took the lead of mankind. Their current leader, Maria Euphoria, created the Mankind Declaration to unite mankind against the monsters and stop warring and ethnic discrimination. At the Grand Chaos Empire imperial capital Valois, Jean Euphoria visits Maria and informs her that she is heading towards Van to meet the Hero King. Soma's work has increased due to Van. Hakuya informs Soma that a 50,000-strong army is heading their way from the Empire, but an advance party will arrive sooner. Soma, Juna, and Tomoya are out for a walk in the town. After eating and resting, Jean shows up. Jean tells that she planned on bringing her beautiful sister to plead with him, which would have made it easy for him to accept their demands. Jean proceeds to explain that her sister is viewed as a saint, and everyone keeps her distance. They don't have anything to gain assisting Amidonia, but as her sister wants to treat everyone equally, they need to assist them. Soma realizes that Jean is also a realist. Jean then apologizes for Soma's summoning. He explains to Junan that since Elfrieden didn't sign the declaration and is far from the Demon Lord's domain, the other countries feel the nation is benefiting from it and demanded financial aid from Elfrieden. Grand Chaos Empire then made Elfrieden perform the hero summoning to make it look like they are providing support, even though they didn't meet a hero. They also didn't expect the summoning to be successful. Soma is fine with all that, as he found a family he wishes to protect. As Jean leaves, Soma realizes the negotiations would be hard.